Camp is camp. It's tough, but it's for me to want to push myself. This is what I do, this is what I live for. I'm ready for battle. I feel like I'm getting stronger, and I feel by the time the fight comes, I'll be at peak performance.
One more. One more. Beautiful. Good. That's what we've got to bring him on to. Nobody can take them.
It's unbelievable how far and how wide sports can take you and the things that you get.
Anthony Joshua begins his first day of training camp as the countdown to his December 19th showdown with Jake Paul officially begins. With the fight now confirmed, Joshua trains with purpose, refining his skills with laser focus and the calm confidence of a former heavyweight champion. Jake Paul, whose rise from YouTube stardom to the boxing spotlight has sparked plenty of controversy, continues to attract massive attention. But this time, he's stepping toward a seasoned force, an opponent with true world-class experience and undeniable power.
The second leg of the training camp. I'm feeling energized, I'm feeling refreshed. So yeah, come inside, have a look what's going on. Tough training, tough lifestyle, rough and tough. But listen, how else would I want it? I love it. So what am I bringing differently? I wouldn't say a new mindset, but definitely like a new perspective. But ultimately, everything new has to lead to a win. So yeah, that's what I'm focused on right now, just winning. With training camp, it's grueling, like there's no doubt about that, but you just need to have a clear mind and be optimistic and run towards challenges every day. And that's how I'm able to get through, is just the perspective I have on what suffering looks like. There's a certain standard that one has to have if they want to achieve certain things. I am working past effort.
Revealed that the Anthony Joshua versus Jake Paul showdown is officially locked in for December 2025. The fight is set to electrify Miami and will stream worldwide on Netflix as a full-fledged professional heavyweight clash.
Yeah, that Anthony Joshua still didn't have an opponent for his next fight, but he was thinking of still fighting before the end of the year. And we've got some breaking news for you now, because we're hearing that AJ is in talks with Jake Paul over a deal for a heavyweight fight in Miami next month. Of course, the YouTuber Paul has already fought the former heavyweight champion of the world, Mike Tyson, and beaten him. And he's now in talks with Anthony Joshua with a view to the two of them fighting in Miami.
Eddie Hearn disputed some of the early rumors, but ultimately confirmed the fight himself, making it clear this won't be an exhibition or a watered-down spectacle. He emphasized that the bout will be fought under true Queensberry rules. No gimmicks, no oversized gloves, no shortened rounds. Both men will wear regulation 10-ounce gloves, compete over standard rounds, and step into a ring governed by the full, uncompromised rules of professional boxing.
Magazine, Anthony Joshua, your man, and Jake Paul are finalizing a deal for a December heavyweight fight in Florida. True or false?
I mean, the gun was jumped a little bit and fired early. There have been conversations. For us, we were flirting with the idea of having this little 8-round fight this year. Not with Jake Paul, by the way, because he was fighting Gervonta Davis.
Yeah, that's no.
But we were going to go on a other card somewhere. You wouldn't have really heard of the person we were going to fight. But AJ wanted to go through the motions, wrap the hands, and just gear up to what is really in the works with Turki Al-Sheikh, which is 2 fights in 2026, and that includes Tyson Fury. That's the plan for Turki Al-Sheikh. We received a phone call from Nikisa Baldirian, from MVP, who, by the way, we've spoke to a few months before talking to us about the fight, and he said, look, would you want to fight Jake Paul? And I said, listen, I don't want to just be a publicity muppet for you, you know, telling everybody that you offered the fight to Anthony Joshua. If you're serious, we can discuss the numbers, and if there's a chance for us to run out in December and, you know, take care of this bloke and get him out of the boxing world and make several tens of millions in the process, of course, we will consider it. And that's basically where we are at now.
And do the numbers stack up?
Of course, I mean, like, you know, it's difficult to have this conversation.
He told Sky Sports they have zero interest in exhibitions. None at all. If Jake Paul wants to fight, then it will be a real fight at a fully contracted weight. Still, despite that firm stance, Hearn added a note of caution, reminding everyone that the deal isn't finalized yet. He said the chances are 50-50, admitting there are still plenty of discussions that need to take place before anything can become official.
Dangerous for Jake Paul. You know, I've got the general feedback is the boxing world saying, please, AJ, go in and evaporate this young man from the boxing world so we can all get on as normal. You've got Jake Paul fans thinking bizarrely they can beat Anthony Joshua. And the most bizarre thing out of everything is that Jake Paul genuinely believes he will beat Anthony Joshua. I think that's the only reason we're going to see this fight, but I truly believe.
Enough to actually pursue this fight, even with Joshua looming as a true heavyweight monster. He didn't hide the fact that a massive payday is waiting for both men. But beneath the excitement, he stressed the brutal danger of putting an inexperienced Paul in the ring with a fully seasoned AJ. Hearn called it a catastrophic mismatch. One that could end Paul.
Joshua 50-50 fight, what do you make of that?
Yeah, I just said in another interview, great if it is. I mean, if it is, then you've got no problem seeing it. But when AJ, I mean, decapitate's a strong word, but you know, when he renders Jake Paul unconscious like he did to Francis Ngannou, don't then say, oh well, it was Jake Paul. Do you know what I mean? I mean, when AJ beat Francis Ngannou, Ngannou just had a fight that could have gone either way with Tyson Fury. Then AJ poleaxed him and everyone just said he's just an MMA fighter. Do you know what I mean? Jake Paul's not Francis Ngannou. But as I said before, if you want to see Jake Paul exit the boxing world...
However, Hearn also admitted that Paul knows exactly what he's doing, calling out real professional fighters who guarantee a massive payday every time his name is involved.
The weekend, I feel a bit dirty saying that because I'm not a fan of his, but he did say after the fight that he's sort of having DMs or he's dropping text messages to AJ. They're having a chat about a potential fight. What's your view on that, Eddie?
Well, look, he's calling out Gervonta Davis, who is a 135-pound lightweight, and he's calling out Anthony Joshua, that's a heavyweight monster. I think Jake Paul is crazy enough to fight Anthony Joshua because the money would be absolutely obscene. It's a catastrophic mismatch that people would tune in to watch because it would lead to the end of Jake Paul. Hopefully not literally, but it's that dangerous that, you know, it's a fight that I don't think should really happen, if I'm honest. I would say about Jake Paul, and I've said this in a couple of interviews today, I do think you start after giving him a margin of respect. You know, I think this guy is going through the motions, he's putting the hard spars in. He just went 10 rounds with, yes, a washed-up fighter, but a former world champion that did train for that fight. But they're very clever in terms of the opponents that they pick. They're not going to gamble unless the money's out of control. And it wouldn't surprise me if Jake Paul, wanted to move forward with an Anthony Joshua fight. Honestly, AJ's coming tonight. He's not exactly looking at Jake Paul going, oh, that's my dream opponent. No. Would he go in there and give him a hiding for, you know, a massive chunk of money? Probably.
Simon Jordan has admitted that, even with all his criticism, the Anthony Joshua versus Jake Paul fight might actually benefit boxing. He acknowledges that the matchup will attract massive global attention, bring in millions of new viewers, and open major financial doors for everyone involved. Jordan points out that boxing is still a business, and pairing a former heavyweight champion with one of the world's biggest digital entertainers is guaranteed to generate money, headlines, and mainstream buzz. He believes the spectacle will draw casual fans, spark conversations, and fuel debates that keep the sport alive in the public eye. And while he still questions how legitimate the fight is from a competitive standpoint, he concedes that commercially and financially, it could be a huge win for the sport.
And Anthony Joshua is an entertainer, and you can't undo the fact that he won the World Heavyweight Championship twice. And he fought in some great fights.
So why does he need this?
Because he's in the business of entertainment. And if an opportunity is presented to him and someone wants to say that we can monetize this to the huge levels that are potentially available, why wouldn't you? It's a walk in the park.
You see, you're not having Saturday night.
Because I know
many people wouldn't have this.
Well, I'm not having,
because this isn't a proper fight where a Saturday night is.
But I don't think this is a proper. I don't think that I would ever consider having a debate about whether Anthony Joshua versus Jake Paul is a proper fight between two bona fide champions. I think Jake Paul is someone that's creating a lot of opportunity for himself and using sport as the anchor for it. And would I watch it? No. And do I value it? No. But when I'm asked to be confronted with a fight between two legends' sons and then get involved in all.
Simon Jordan also took aim at the Conor Benn versus Chris Eubank Jr. fight, arguing that the entire promotion leaned on nostalgia rather than genuine sporting merit. He said the matchup was being sold on the legacy of their fathers' iconic rivalry from the 1990s, rather than anything the two fighters had achieved in their own careers. Jordan criticized promoters for weaponizing history, using it to distract from the fact that the fight made little competitive sense, especially with Ben moving up in weight and Eubank Jr. cutting down to a dangerous level. He then compared that situation to this one, calling it another blatant cash grab rather than a meaningful contest. A mismatch between a former heavyweight champion and a social media star that he believes erodes the sport's integrity. Jordan even questioned whether a fight like this should be sanctioned at all, expressing concern over the physical risks Jake Paul would be stepping into and warning that Joshua's legacy could suffer long-term damage if he chooses to follow this path.
The kind of returns that they're going to get for the level that they've operated in their careers. And that's one of my issues around the Conor Ben Eubank fight. This fight over here with Anthony Joshua, I know what this is. No one can dress this up. This is a turd that will get polished into a huge pile of money. And if you know that from the outset,
Yeah.
so I don't have any illusions about it. And neither does anybody else. Nobody thinks that this is a real fight. Nobody thought, I mean, Spencer tried his very level best and will never try it again to convince us that Mike Tyson versus Jake Paul.
Yeah.
Well, this is something similar
Yeah.
for different reasons. Anthony Joshua is still a live heavyweight, and if he hits Jake Paul's going to get hurt.
Yeah.
And some people might think that's a good thing to happen to him to learn his lesson. But he is also now fighting. He's got a fighter's license. And the question should be along the lines of what Chris Eubank Sr. was raising. Is it right? Is this appropriate that a high-performing supreme athlete like Anthony Joshua, whose only real challenges now are probably in his mind, because physically he can operate at the highest level if he still chose to, should be stepping in against someone like Jake Paul that does not have the skill set to deal with the kind of power and expertise that Anthony Joshua has? And should boxing be sanctioning this? This is the bigger question.
Oh, that's true. That is true. Having said all that, Netflix tell us 60 million households worldwide tuned in live to see Mike Tyson take on Jake Paul. Why would Jake Paul end up fighting?
Adding to the growing hype, boxing legend Roy Jones Jr. offered a surprisingly cautious perspective on the Jake Paul versus Anthony Joshua matchup. He stressed that the fight has to make sense for Joshua, not just financially but competitively as well. Jones reminded everyone that legacy and long-term strategy matter just as much as headlines, hype, and paydays.